External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is in Italy on a 3-day visit. The main highlight of his trip is attending the outreach session of the G7 Foreign Ministers meeting, where India has been invited as a guest country. Upon his arrival in the European country, Dr. Jaishankar inaugurated the new premises of the Indian Embassy in Rome. He said India views Italy as a key European partner and an influential Mediterranean ally while inaugurating the new chancery of the Embassy of India in Rome. Pakistan has suspended mobile and internet services in areas with quote-unquote security concerns. This as supporters of jailed former Prime Minister Imran Khan gear up for a protest in the capital and also clashed with police en route to Islamabad. The Government and Interior Ministry posted the announcement on social media platform X, which is banned in Pakistan. They did not specify the areas or say how long the suspension would be in place. Internet and mobile services will continue to operate as usual in the rest of the country, the post said. Khan has been in prison for more than 1 year and has over 150 criminal cases against him. But he remains popular, and his political party, the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf or the PTI, says the cases are politically motivated. A day after Hezbollah fired 250 rockets into Israel, making it the heaviest shelling in weeks, Israel launched a retaliation. Its airstrikes targeted Beirut on Sunday night. Meanwhile, negotiators press on with ceasefire efforts to halt the all-out war. And Lebanon's military says an Israeli strike on a Lebanese army center in the country's southwest killed 1 soldier and wounded 18 others. Israel's military has expressed regret and said its operations are directed solely against the militants. Gaza-based health authorities claim that the Palestinian death toll from the ongoing Israeli attacks has risen to 44,211, with over 104,000 injured. In the past 24 hours alone, Israeli military operations in Gaza have caused 35 deaths and 94 injuries, the statement added. 4 people were killed and several others injured in an Israeli attack on a building in the Burej refugee camp in central Gaza early Sunday, according to Palestinian media reports. On Saturday, at least 12 Palestinian medical workers were reportedly injured in an Israeli bombing of the Kamal Adwan hospital in the northern Gaza Strip. Just weeks ahead of winter, the cold weather and rains have arrived in Gaza. Hundreds of thousands of people are crammed into tent camps with no homes to return to. The UN estimates that around 90% of the population of 2.3 million people have been displaced, often multiple times. Not only this, hundreds of thousands are living in tent camps with little food, water, or basic services. Israeli evacuation orders now cover around 90% of the territory. Humanitarian organizations have said they have struggled to bring in basic supplies because of Israeli restrictions, the ongoing fighting, and the breakdown of law and order in Gaza.
تبهدلنا من المطر وولادنا اللي غرقوا من المطر واحنا كمان وعينا مي ومعناش اشي انه يعني نقول نكسي حالنا من المطر. لا ما فيش الا هالخيمه بس واحنا هلقيت انا وولادي 11 نفر على فرشتين.
President-elect Donald Trump is reportedly preparing to sign an executive order aimed at removing transgender individuals from the U.S. military. This as dozens of transgender Americans and parents of trans teens brace themselves for a second Trump administration. The new directive, if signed, could be more broader and more controversial than the one Trump introduced during his first term. If banned transgender individuals from joining the military, but allowed those already serving to remain. After Trump left office, President Biden in 2021 issued an executive order to overturn the ban in his first week. Stanford University-trained physician and economist Jay Bhattacharya has reportedly emerged as the presumptive favorite of President-elect Donald Trump's transition team. He's being considered for the post of the next Director of National Institutes of Health, or the NIH, a nearly $50 billion agency that oversees the nation's biomedical research. The Stanford-trained physician and economist met this week with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who has been appointed by Trump to lead the Department of Health and Human Services, or the HHS. It is United States' top health agency, which oversees the NIH and other health agencies. A little well-known far-right populist has taken the lead in Romania's presidential election. Electoral data showed, and will likely face leftist Prime Minister Marcel Ciucă in a runoff in 2 weeks, an outcome that rocked the country's political landscape. Calin Georgescu, who ran independently, led the polls with around 22% of the votes, while the Social Democratic Party, the PSD, came second at 20%. 13 candidates ran for the presidency in the European Union and NATO member country. The president serves a 5-year term and has significant decision-making powers in areas such as national security, foreign policy, and judicial appointments. Uruguay's leftist opposition candidate Yamandu Orsi claimed victory in a tight presidential runoff Sunday. He has ousted the conservative governing coalition and made the South American nation the latest to rebuke the incumbent party in a year of landmark elections. Even as the vote count continued, Alvaro Delgado, the presidential candidate of the center-right ruling coalition, conceded defeat to his challenger. Fireworks erupted over the stage, where 57-year-old Orsi, a working-class former history teacher and 2-time mayor for Uruguay's Broad Front coalition, thanked his supporters as crowds flocked to greet him.
Yamandu Orsi tiene la llave, la posibilidad de buscar y encontrar los acuerdos nacionales. Pero sepan que acá va a haber una suma de partidos, que es esta coalición, que vino para quedarse porque ya nosotros no somos los dueños de la coalición. Los dueños de la coalición son la gente que la vivió, la militó en todo el país.
Opposition protesters gathered outside Georgia's parliament early on Monday as lawmakers prepared to hold their first session since the country's October 26 election. Demonstrators spent the night outside the parliament building, making their voices heard as they protested the country's election results that kept the government Georgian Dream Party in power. Opponents say last month's vote was rigged and suspect neighboring Russia's influence. Many Georgians viewed the election as a referendum on the country's effort to join the European Union. The Central Election Commission said Georgian Dream won about 54% of the vote in October. Its leaders have rejected opposition claims of vote fraud. One person has died and 3 others have been injured after a cargo plane crashed near Vilnius Airport in Lithuania in the early hours of Monday. The plane, operated by DHL by the Spanish cargo airline Swiftair, crashed near a house as it was on its final approach for landing, local authorities have said. The police said around 12 people have been safely evacuated from a house close to the crash site. Former Hong Kong media boss Jimmy Lai She-ying returns to the witness box on Monday. This as his oral testimony in his marathon national security trial enters the 4th day at the West Kowloon Court. 76-year-old Lai has denied 2 charges of conspiring to collude with foreign forces under the 2020 national security law, as well as a 3rd count of conspiracy to print and distribute seditious publications in breach of a colonial-era legislation. The founder of the now-defunct Apple Daily tabloid previously explained his relationships with politicians and activists in the United States, Britain, and Taiwan, but denied prosecutors' allegations he had sought to leverage his vast network of influence to tilt foreign policies aimed at Beijing and Hong Kong in his favor. South Korea has paid tribute to wartime Korean forced laborers at Japan's Sado Island gold mines in a memorial ceremony on Monday. It comes a day after boycotting a similar event organized by Japan, as tensions over historical atrocities continue to impact relations between the two sides. The Monday's ceremony at a former dormitory near the 16th century Sado mines, which were listed this summer as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, was organized by South Korea's foreign ministry and attended by 9 families of Korean wartime laborers, the country's ambassador to Japan, and other officials. Japan on Sunday held a memorial service for all workers at the Sado mines, including Koreans. It thanked them for their contributions at the mines, but did not acknowledge their forced labor issue or shied away from issuing an apology. The WHO has declared that Mpox remains a public health emergency, a determination based on the rising number of cases, operational challenges, and the need to mount a joint response to the end of the outbreak, or to end the outbreak rather. 19 African countries have recorded Mpox cases since the start of this year. Canada has also confirmed the first case of Clade 1 Mpox, and its public health agency said that the case was linked to travel associated with the ongoing outbreak in Central and Eastern Africa. The Democratic Republic of Congo, one of the epicenters of the Mpox outbreak, is continuing to carry out measures to stop the disease from spreading further, as cases in the countries surpass 40,000 with a death toll of more than 1,000. New Delhi has strongly rejected the $300 billion climate finance package for the Global South, calling it insufficient and unfair. At the UN Climate Conference, India accused the COP29 presidency and the UN Climate Change Office of pushing through the deal without allowing the country to voice its objections. Chandni Raina, advisor to India's Department of Economic Affairs, described the adoption process as stage-managed. Not only this, Raina said it highlighted the growing lack of trust in the US system. The new package, which replaces the $100 billion pledge from 2009, is set to be delivered annually by 2035. But India insists it is too little to address the needs of developing nations. As COP29 ends, all eyes turn to the upcoming COP30 in Belém, the first UN climate conference in the Amazon. Many tout the host destination as symbolizing the forest's key role in combating climate change. But when tens and thousands of participants arrived in the host city of Belém next year, they won't find idyllic images of rainforest like lush vegetation and clean rivers. In Belém, impoverished, crime-ridden, and filled with inequalities, most of the 2.5 million residents live in poor neighborhoods. What's more, only 2% of the city's sewage gets treated, imposing a heavy toll on its 14 river basins. Brazil's government estimates that 50,000 people will attend COP30, including up to 150 heads of states. Homes and businesses were left flooded on Sunday as Storm Bert continued to batter communities across the UK. In West Yorkshire, one father described a terrifying moment. He and his 11-month-old son escaped from a sinking car after it became submerged in floodwaters. In the Welsh town of Pontypridd, houses and shops were flooded as residents struggled to evacuate the area and save some of their belongings. Some even expressed their frustration over the defenses put in place by the authorities to try and prevent homes from flooding. As the globe gets warmer, Italy's beekeeping industry faces severe impacts from climate change, leading to a decline in honey harvests. Piedmont, a major honey-producing region in northwest Italy, has more than 400 apiaries. A veteran beekeeper, Massimo Carpentieri, who has been in the industry for nearly 50 years, said that unusual weather this year has drastically reduced honey production, resulting in the average honey yield per hive this spring only at 3.7 kilograms, roughly 1/6 of the usual amount. More than 30 pilot whales that stranded themselves on a beach in New Zealand have been safely returned to the ocean after conservation workers and residents helped to refloat them by lifting them on sheets. 4 of the pilot whales died, New Zealand's conservation agency said. Now, New Zealand is a whale stranding hotspot, and pilot whales are especially prolific strandlers. A team was monitoring the Rukaka beach near the city of Whangarei in New Zealand's north on Monday to ensure there were no signs of whales saved on Sunday stranding again, the Department of Conservation told the AP. Oil prices have retreated on Monday following 6% gains last week, but remain near 2-week highs as geopolitical tensions grew between Western powers and major oil producers Russia and Iran, raising risks of supply disruption. Brent crude futures slipped 26 cents or 0.35% to $74.91 a barrel by 4:40 a.m. GMT, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures were at $70.97 a barrel, down 27 cents or 0.38%. Intel is set to receive a smaller grant under the CHIPS Act, the New York Times reported on Sunday, as the chip maker grapples with delays in planned investments amid heightened competition. Intel is expected to see its funding under the CHIPS Act drop to below $8 million from $8.5 billion, the NYT report said, citing people familiar with the grant. The report said the final contract had not yet been signed. Intel is the biggest recipient of support from the CHIPS Act. Italian lender UniCredit said on Monday it had offered to buy rival Banco BPM in a stock deal valued at about 10.09 billion euros or $10.57 billion. UniCredit said it would offer 0.175 of its common stock for each BPM share. The exchange ratio implies an offer value of 6.67 euros per share, a premium of about 0.4% to BPM's last close on Friday. Now, over in India, the Sensex and Nifty sharply advanced in the morning trade on November 25, extending the massive rally seen on November 22, on the back of a stunning BJP-led National Democratic Alliance performance in the Maharashtra Assembly election. India's antitrust body, the Competition Commission of India, has rejected a request from Apple Inc. to put a hold on an investigation report that found the company violated competition laws. The decision allows the ongoing case against Apple to proceed, according to an internal order from the regulator seen and reported by Reuters. In August, the CCI had ordered the recall of its initial investigation reports after Apple claimed that the watchdog had inadvertently disclosed commercial secrets to its competitors, including Tinder owner Match Group. Apple argued that certain sensitive elements should have been redacted. Sony Group Corp is in the early stages of developing a portable console that would play its PlayStation 5 games on the move. The product is aimed at expanding Sony's reach and contending with Nintendo Co. for the portable gaming market, according to a Bloomberg report. It would also counter any potential mobile hardware from Xbox maker Microsoft, which is working on prototypes in the category as well. Sony's portable device is likely years away from launch, and the company could still decide against bringing it to market, the people said, asking not to be named, discussing private plans. China has launched two 4-dimensional high-resolution satellites into space on Monday. The two satellites, Civé Gaojing 203 and the Civé Gaojing 204, were sent into their preset orbit from the Jiguan Satellite Launch Center in northwest China at 7:39 a.m. Beijing time on board a long March 2C carrier rocket. It was the 547th flight mission of the Long March series rockets. Australia's government said on Sunday it had dropped plans to fine internet platforms up to 5% of their global revenue for failing to prevent the spread of misinformation online. The bill was part of a wide-ranging regulatory crackdown by Australia, where leaders have complained that foreign domiciled tech platforms are overriding the country's sovereignty and comes ahead of a federal election due within 1 year. $2 trillion Amazon is working overtime to dislodge NVIDIA in a most lucrative tech space, which is the AI chips. Trianium 2 is the company's third-generation AI chip that Amazon feels it helped it get a lion's share of the market. Amazon is hoping to bring a new chip into the market every 18 months to ensure it stays ahead on the tech curve. In contrast, NVIDIA is bringing a chip every year. UFC boss Dana White is officially done with politics. After helping Donald Trump secure his 2020 victory, White had a lot to say about his brief stint in the political spotlight. However, just to make sure no one gets the wrong idea about this 25-year friendship with the MAGA, White reaffirmed his admiration for Trump, calling him tougher and more badass than anybody, after recounting a chilling assassination attempt on the president.